Today's Seahawks video is taking a look at some potential draft targets with that second-round pick for Seattle. Before we get into my list of names, however, I want you guys to get your votes in for me in the comments section. It's the pinned comment, by the way, so go right there and answer. Who do you guys want the Seahawks to draft? Now, things are tricky for Seattle because from a team need perspective, well, I'm looking at cornerback, I'm looking at receiver, I'm looking at offensive line for the most part, and those three areas are where I'm focused in at, knowing there are some examples that they could go a different direction, but those three spots are how we're going to break down this video in terms of prospects. It's also tricky because, well, Seattle doesn't have very many draft picks. Just 3 in total this year, that first one being round 2, number 56 overall. So as difficult as it is to project a late first-round pick, we're going to try to look at some names for a late second-round pick for Seattle. The Seahawks offensive line is still in need of help, and they could find that help with that round 2 pick, number 56 overall. For the time being, they're okay at offensive tackle. They got some older guys, but they're still playing well. Guards in pretty decent shape. So we'll mention some honorable mentions there. But as it relates to draft targets in round 2, I think center makes the most sense. We'll begin with my dream target for Seattle in round 2. That is Landon Dickerson, the center who could also play some guard out of Alabama. He's played every single offensive line spot in his college career, but he's going to be an interior offensive line option for whatever team ends up taking him. Now, the only reason he could slide, he's a little bit older, and also tore his ACL in the SEC title game, although perhaps you saw him doing cartwheels at Mac Jones's pro day. So he's probably going to be okay on that one. I would put the percent chance of Dickerson actually being on the board for Seattle, like maybe 10%, but I wanted to include him because he's awesome. And if Seattle could get Landon Dickerson, even if he needs a little bit more time to recover from that ACL, well, once he's healthy, he'll be an upgrade over Ethan Posick, who could also start in the short term at that spot. So if Seattle could get Landon, I'm all for it. Just not going to get my hopes up there. Creed Humphrey is next up here, a 3-year starter on the offensive line for Oklahoma, only at the center position. Now, Big 12 interior offensive linemen in general have life a little bit easier on them because, well, there are a lot of 3-man fronts that they face, and that's not too difficult for a center. But he's a fantastic athlete. I think he moves very well, and I think he can start day one in the NFL, which, again, fits very well for Seattle. Now, if Seattle was picking at like 46, I'd feel a lot better about the chances of Humphrey being on the board. But I do think there is a very real possibility that Humphrey and Landon Dickerson are off the board in that pick 56 range. One guy who I do think will be there, who I'm very intrigued by, is Quinn Meinerz, the interior offensive lineman from little old Wisconsin Whitewater. You're drafting him where he's probably going to go, in the top 75, based mostly on his Senior Bowl. Because after having to sit out an entire year because the FCS did not have football this year due to COVID, he balled out, was absolutely dominant against much better competition. Of course, no surprise here, the Wisconsin Whitewater film was pretty good as well. This is very rare, even for a center, which in general gives up fewer pressures and sacks and all those things. 0 total pressures allowed. No sacks, no hits, no hurries. He beat up on lesser competition. But the fact that he did well at the Senior Bowl was massive for his draft stock. I got no issues taking him in round 2. One more center here, then we'll get some honorable mentions. Josh Myers, the, again, center out of Ohio State, could also probably play some guard in the NFL. A 2-year starter for the Ohio State Buckeyes. The red flag here, why he is on my board at least, behind guys like Dickerson and Humphrey and Quinn Meinerz, there are some issues in pass protection. Allowed 6 sacks over the past 2 years, and in theory, if you want to let Russ cook, and in theory, if you're going to go up against Aaron Donald, you want to make sure your interior offensive lineman can hold up in pass protection. The traits are there. He does still need some development. He's just behind guys like Dickerson, Humphrey, Meinerz. This would probably be a reach in round 2, but if you're trying to fill a need, I do think Myers makes some sense at that point for Seattle. So do you guys want to draft a center in round 2, assuming, of course, there's a good one on the board? Get your votes in for me. Type in Y for yes you do, or N for no you don't. All right, 5 more honorable mentions here. Alex Leatherwood, is he a tackle? Is he a guard? That is up for debate. But if he's there at 56, you take him if you are Seattle. Kind of something similar there on the far end with Jalen Mayfield, who did not test that well at his pro day, and that is a significant red flag given how juiced pro day testing was this year. And then 3 guards. Deontay Brown, who is a massive mauler, but very slow. Wyatt Davis, and then Trey Smith as well. If they trade down from round 2 and go to early mid round 3, Davis, Smith, and Brown could be in play at that point for Seattle. The 2021 NFL Draft, it is almost here, and the NFL has just released and revealed and are now available to buy as well, Seahawks draft hats, the official ones you'll see players wear once they get drafted. Get yours today at chatsports.com/Seattle Draft. I will make sure that link, by the way, is in the comments and in the description. Bunch of different styles. They've got the snapbacks and the fitted and the flex ones, and they've got the rounded brims and the flat bills. A ton of variety. They are all available at chatsports.com/Seattle Draft. Now, supplies are a little bit limited, so don't delay. Go get yours today. Let's go now to the cornerback spot for the Seattle Seahawks, an area that I still believe is a need for Seattle, even after they brought back Demarius Randall and moved him to outside corner. I feel good about the nickel spot. Between Marquise Blair and Amari, you're set. Outside corner, Witherspoon, Reed, Flowers, Randall. I don't see a number 1 on that unit. And maybe you feel good about Witherspoon and Reed and maybe Flowers and Randall short term. So maybe look long term for a guy that fits what Seattle likes. So 5 names I want to run through here, beginning with Eric Stokes, who I think of this grouping is the least likely to be on the board. Reliable player at Georgia. Not great ball production before this year that jumped up this season with 4 interceptions. A couple of them were lucky, but still, it's 4 interceptions in the end. Teams did not test him that often. Allowed us 145 yards, the 1 touchdown this year. He has the length and the speed that NFL teams, especially Seattle, have shown in general they like. Now, I think Seattle's willing to get away from that style, as they've shown by making Randall a corner, but he definitely fits the prototypical Seahawks type. His teammate now, Tyson Campbell, next up here again, fits the mold. He's tall, he's long, he's got great straight line speed. Normally, I like these types of players who have that great size, the speed, and might be able to be a good ball skills guy, but that's not Tyson Campbell. And yes, there is upside to be great. I was very underwhelmed when I watched him, and I thought I was going to like him more than I did, and that was not the case. I did not like him as much, but late round 2, that's the right range to take Tyson Campbell if he is on the board, and you hope you can maximize the raw skill set. So pick a Georgia corner for me. Which Bulldog do you want to head west to Seattle? Type S for Eric Stokes. Type C for Tyson Campbell. After doing my study, I surprised myself. I went with S, Eric Stokes. Let's go to Kelvin Joseph, one of the more difficult evals this year. Because on the field only, there's a lot that you like there. Very talented, great feet, has shown ball skills, looks the part, has the size, other traits, everything you're looking for there. Top 5 corner in terms of pure talent. The problem is less about the player and more about the person. There are some character issues here for Kelvin Joseph, who left LSU, went to Kentucky, had a great 9-game run, and then was told by the UK staff to opt out. Because the quote from Mark Stoops was, you know what, I can't have him just standing around out there. That's a big-time yikes. Again, the talent, the traits, they are all there. The interceptions, certainly there. The inconsistencies, well, they are also there. History of personal foul penalties as well. The whole opt-out from Kentucky where he was more or less told to go home, that's a big-time red flag. The risk is obvious, but so is the upside. Ifeatu Melifonwu is next up here. Yes, this is the younger brother of Obi Melifonwu. Now, much like his brother, an ideal size and speed combo. He does still need development, however, in the cornerback area. He's still not quite doesn't know how to use his length that well yet. There are some, I think, very fixable technique issues. And by all accounts, it appears that he cares more about football than Obi did, which is certainly a significant goal there. If he's there in the late round 2, I think it's really good value for someone who fits that prototype cover 3 corner that the Seahawks have coveted for years now. The completion percentage is high. Most of those came on short underneath routes, part of the Syracuse-style defense. So late round 2, I am all for it. Paulson Adebo is next up here. Also fits that kind of zone cover 3 style. A tricky eval for me. I love the ball skills. 8 interceptions, 27 pass breakups in 22 career games for Stanford. But he was also better as a freshman. And then his sophomore year, the last time we saw him, mind you, he was fairly inconsistent. There were just ups and downs. The UCF tape, he had a very rough time going up against Gabriel Davis. And Gabriel Davis is a good football player. But guess what, folks? He's going to face better ones in the NFL. So round 2, late round 2, early round 3, mid round 3, okay, that's about the right range for him because the upside is there. He's still a little bit inconsistent, but from a fits the prototype of what Seattle has liked and potentially could be a number 1 corner in the NFL, that certainly carries value for me as it relates to the Seahawks draft options at cornerback. Now, whatever the Seahawks do during the NFL draft, well, we will let you guys know. Subscribe today for videos pretty much every single day on everything going on around Seattle. And you better believe once the Seahawks make their picks, we'll have a video up from a part of our live coverage on the NFL draft, and plenty of grades as well. So join us today, hit that big red button, and subscribe. Let's go to the top wide receiver draft targets here because I want to let Russ cook and I want to keep Russ happy. And getting him a wide receiver helps that happen. Rondale Moore, Amari, Rodgers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Moore, Tylan Wallace could all be great fits in that wide receiver 3 role for Seattle. Let's go to Rondale Moore to start here. He is undersized, make no mistake about it, but he is athletic, he is dynamic, and you have to see him touches for him, but there are few better playmakers in terms of once the ball is in their hand in this year's class than Rondale Moore. Now, the stats from 2020 are not great. Injuries have ruined his past 2 years, and the medical is going to be a big factor. But if the Seahawks clear it and he's still there, I say take him in round 2 because a Lockett, DK Metcalf, Rondale Moore trio, that's like the best one in the NFL. Let's go to Amari Rodgers now, who I do think will be there late round 2. Maybe it goes a little bit earlier. Kind of is built and plays like a running back does. He's not the same caliber of athlete that Moore and even Elijah Moore is in this year's draft. But if you want to use him as a Deebo Samuel light, a lot of short area stuff, quick touches, let him be a run-after-catch monster, that is where Amari Rodgers thrives. He's not the same caliber of athlete that Rondale or even Elijah Moore are, but again, 5'10", 210, again, kind of built like that back, very dangerous after the catch, and if you want to have success against 2 deep safeties, which Seattle has seen plenty of, an underneath guy like Amari Rodgers will make life much easier on Russell Wilson. Now, do you guys want to add another playmaker? Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Type 1 for yes you do, or type 0 for no you don't. Let's go to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like the ability to have Tyler Lockett play outside and inside. So if I want to keep that flexibility, Amon-Ra St. Brown gives me the ability to do so because he's played both outside and inside. Now, he is not the athlete that his brother, Equinemius St. Brown, is. Amon-Ra did not test nearly as well at a rather juiced pro day. But he is an instant impact guy and a better football player right now than EQ is because he's very polished, a good route runner. If you want an earlier impact receiver who's not going to have to be schemed for, I think Amon-Ra fits that role very well. Elijah Moore is next up here. He was awesome in 2020. Ball out, bunch of big plays. The concern here is that size is an issue. Now, if you think he can be on the outside, I think the player comp for him actually becomes Tyler Lockett. The production is obvious right there. 86 catches, 1,193 yards, 8 touchdowns. Elijah Moore is one of my favorite, I'm going to call him borderline round one sleepers in this year's class. If he's there for me in round 2, if I'm Seattle, I love it. It's too good of a fit for what the Seahawks want to do on offense. Now, for a guy that's probably going to go after the Seahawks round 2 pick, but I wanted to mention him anyway because I love him, Tylan Wallace. This is an example of traits versus size. The traits are skills, traits versus skills. The traits are stuff like speed, size, quickness, the measurables, if you will. The skills are your ability to make catches, your ability to be physical, your ability to run routes, all of those things that help make you be a good football player. The traits for Tylan Wallace are not ideal. He's a bit undersized, decent speed, but not nearly enough to balance out his lack of size. But the skills, the actual just being a football player, he's awesome. He's one of my guys in this year's draft. Now, did I leave a position out that you think Seattle should explore in round 2? Maybe it was defensive tackle. Do you want another edge rusher? I don't know, just some possibilities there. Before we go, this is your opportunity to let me know what you guys think in the comments section. If I left a position out, go mention it right now in the comments.